Hi, we're Ellie and David. Join us as we overland the Americas in Yak, our Land Rover Defender.
Yak's already taken us across Europe and Central Asia, but this expedition will be our biggest challenge yet.
We're overlanding from the southern tip of Argentina all the way to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska. Follow along as we experience all the extremes and beauty of a simple life on the road in our Pan-American adventure. Good morning. This is the aftermath of the trek. We are completely coated in mud. All of this on the floor is stuff that we bashed off the traction boards. Yeah, my footwell is particularly lovely. The underside is obviously completely coated as well, under all the wheel arches and everything, so we are in desperate need of a car wash. We can't find any on iOverlander. A river will do, but some kind of water source soon would be good.
On the road to Ibera National Park now, just a dirt road with the occasional corrugation.
David's playing it cool, but he's freaking out about seeing caiman today, hopefully. He might cry if we don't. If we're honest, we were a little bit underwhelmed with the Ibera National Park. I don't know whether we just went in the wrong season or we weren't patient enough, but after hearing descriptions of hundreds of caiman, we were surprised to not see any in the park itself. Saying that though, it was nice and quiet and didn't feel super touristy, and we saw loads of capybaras, which was great.
Absolutely enormous.
The babies are so cute. Happy David.
National Park for about 2 hours. Didn't see a single one. Just had our first interesting run-in with the police. We got pulled over at a police stop on the motorway, which isn't unusual, but most of the time they do just sort of wave us on. They're saying something about the front of the Land Rover. We gave him our passport and the V5 for the Land Rover, and then he translated that they couldn't see the front reg plate. Obviously we'd just come off the national park, really muddy tracks, just didn't think about it, should have got rid of it, but just we forgot about it, hadn't found a car wash. started talking about our fire extinguisher being out of date, despite the fact we've got one that's out of date, one that's not, and was asking for 50,000 pesos as a minimum payment, and if we don't recharge it we'll get fined more. We kind of thought, we don't know if it's legit or not. I'm not saying it's corruption, but we weren't super happy with it, so we just said, oh, we don't have any cash, because we don't at the moment. He said you can pay in real, so I said we just come from Brazil, and I just said we don't have much of that left, and we showed him we had about £1 or £2 worth. And at that point he kind of was just like, okay, please recharge your fire extinguisher, and sent us on our way. A bit frustrating, because we did have the other fire extinguisher, which is completely in date, so we weren't super happy about it, so yeah, just tried to stand our ground.
We've done some pretty heavy driving days over the past week, so we're really happy we can just stop for a little bit now. We're in San Antonio de Areco, which is kind of the gaucho capital of Argentina, I think. It's quite famous for gaucho culture here. I think there are a few museums, quite a lot of like artisanal producers, and there's a famous chocolate shop that we're really excited to visit. I think it's called the Copper Pot, is it? And it's meant to have the best alfajores in the whole of Argentina, which is a bold claim, so we need to go and check them out. But first, an update from David on what just happened.
So we've got a long-range fuel tank, which means we should have about 1,100 kilometres of range. We left our spot this morning, and we'd been there for a while trying to upload a YouTube, and we were having difficulties with the Wi-Fi, so I should have just filled it out whilst we were there, but I thought, no, we'll be fine, we'll get to San Antonio de Areco, we'll be alright. And about 30 miles down the road, Yak starts spluttering, and we're out of fuel completely. And we've probably got like 200, or what I thought was 200 kilometres left on the clock. And I realised that basically what's happened is when we drove into the national park, the roads were so horrendous that we must have just been a lot less fuel efficient. So anyway, we were there quite annoyed, so we didn't film anything because I was just frustrated with myself, and I think you were probably slightly frustrated with me too. So I stuck my thumb out, and within 30 seconds someone was already pulling over, kind of semi-explained the situation to him, and then within a matter of minutes he was kind of just saying to me, I'm going to go get you some fuel in a little can and bring it back to you. And I was going, oh, I can come with you, and he said, no, just stay with your wife, which was really kind of him. And so he went off and said, oh, I'll be about an hour, and then 10-15 minutes later he came back with this kind of big plastic bottle full of some diesel, filled it up for us, and then when we went to give him the money he said no, and we really tried to give him the money, and he just kept refusing, saying no, and he just said, bienvenidos a Argentina. And then just drove off, really challenged by the hospitality and kind of how we might approach a situation like that when we're back home, seeing someone pulled over on the side of the road, or just on this trip as well.
I might have mentioned before, but back home I work for a bean-to-bar chocolate company, so I do have a pretty high standard for chocolates, so we'll see how this compares. What should we try first? Alfajor?
Yeah. Yeah?
Oh, it's really good. It's more cakey than some of the others. Dulce de leche is so good though. I was well over half, I'm just saying. Gauchos, the nomadic cowboys and horse whisperers of the Pampas and Patagonia, are an icon of Argentine folk culture. While Argentina's gaucho population today has dwindled significantly and is no longer nomadic, many of their customs are still very much alive, and if you've got the budget for it, which we didn't, you can stay in an estancia and experience things like horseback riding, folk music, and famously a lot of meat grilling. This old gaucho saloon, also known as a pulperia, was covered in amazing old photos of local legends and memorabilia, and we really felt like we'd been transported back in time.
Yak just gave us quite a big fright. We were driving along the motorway and just heard this ridiculous bang, like a really, really aggressive bang, and looked in my rearview mirror and saw our front prop shaft rolling along at the hard shoulder. Pulled over immediately. Foolishly tried to pick it up, burnt my finger in the process. We put it in diff lock and come to a petrol station. Whilst we were kind of pulled over and we were just figuring out what had happened, some Argentinian man pulled over and kind of said, are you okay? And helped me kind of carry this across. We've got to a petrol station, and another Argentinian man came across and has given us a contact for a Land Rover parts dealership, a half an hour back towards Buenos Aires. So So I've got the UJs off because they were still attached. The prop had just completely torn itself apart. Fortunately, there was no damage really underneath the Land Rover, apart from a few sort of scrapes and dents, which is unheard of really. So we're safe, which is good, and hopefully we'll have a new prop by the end of the day. But it was quite a scare. We made it here, easy enough, obviously in diff lock, which is fine. They've got the prop shaft we need. It's quite a lot of money for a brand that's okay. It's, you know, the money we're spending, I think it's about £400 it's going to be. We could get a Gwyn Lewis prop shaft back home for that money, which is, you know, really good quality. It's frustrating because that's a huge part of our budget, but we're just, you know, we have to do it. So I'm just going to change it here. We've got one of the bolts has kind of been ripped by the prop shaft when it broke, so I'm going to have to take the flange out of the transfer box, and because you can't get new bolts in without doing that, so I'll do that here. It should be half an hour to an hour, and then we'll be back on the road.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going alright. We've taken the flange off to replace two of the prop shaft bolts because the thread was just destroyed by the prop shaft when it went. I'm going to put that back on now. Put the new prop on and we're good to go.
Today is the day we start our long journey south with our very expensive new prop shaft. We're thinking it'll take us about 5 days probably. I don't think there's a whole lot going on in that area. I think it's very much kind of Kazakh vibes with the roads. So yeah, I think we'll probably just bang out some long driving days, but we're thinking of stopping at Peninsula Valdes on the way down. There are meant to be penguins there, which would be really cool, and we might just catch the end of whale season, which would be amazing.
Just been pulled over for a police search. They had a sniffer dog looking through the vehicle, and they asked if we had any fruit, and I said, oh yeah, we got some oranges, and I opened up, he just said eat, told us to pull over and eat the oranges before we come in. I don't know why, and Ellie is absolutely bursting for the toilet. Stopped to have a little bit of dinner. Ellie's just making some pasta, and I think maybe we'll do another hour of driving. Made fairly decent progress. We were thinking we'd maybe be doing 10-hour driving days on this journey, but we've taken it a bit slower the last few days because we've not slept particularly well. But yeah, I think we're about 6 hours from Peninsula Valdes. Ellie cooking with her favourite knife, which I destroyed with our back door.
R.I.P. 50 kilometres before we reached the city of Puerto Madryn, a truck driving towards us swerved into the hard shoulder, flicking up a load of stones. It all happened very quickly, but I heard a loud crack and realised I was covered in small shards of glass. The crack doesn't look like much, so we were surprised at how much glass had come off it. I had quite a bit in my mouth, a couple of pieces in the corner of my eye, and a few pieces lodged in my arm, but thankfully nothing too serious.
There are just shards of glass everywhere. I don't really know what to do. I've cleared the back bit of this cushion for Ellie because it's not safe for her sitting there. If anything else gets flicked up, the whole windscreen could shatter.
We drove on carefully to Puerto Madryn, feeling a bit shaken up to be honest, and slightly worried about how much money and time this would set us back.
It's just started raining. We've got a massive storm coming our way. I don't know if it's safe to use the windscreen wipers.
I've been checked over at the hospital. The doctor was pretty confident that my eye's okay, which is a relief. Yeah, I wasn't in any pain or anything, but you know, when it's your eyes, you just want to be sure. So yeah, now we've got to just find out if there's anywhere in the city that can replace a Defender windscreen.
It has been a very interesting 24 hours. I've spent most of today going around looking for places to replace the windscreen. Went to a fair few places, all with very little success, but the last person we went to about 5:30, he said he's closing, but if we turn up tomorrow morning we should be able to sort it. A lot of the places just said we don't have Land Rover windscreens, so we'll see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be back on the road, and then we're going to head that way when it is sorted out to Peninsula Valdes.
Slight change of plan. We went back to the windscreen repair place, and they basically said that they've got to, I think, wait for a guy to come back or wait for the glass to come in, something like that. So they've asked us to come back tomorrow. So we had to think about it, and we think we're going to risk going to Peninsula Valdes in the meantime while we wait for them. We've spoken to a few people, and it is dirt tracks to get there. It's definitely not paved, but people have said that it's not too rough, so I think if we take it really carefully we should be alright. We'd been at the viewpoint for about 4 hours at this point, and although we were super happy we'd been able to see the penguins and elephant seals, we couldn't help but feel a little bit disappointed that we hadn't spotted any orcas, as they're pretty common in this bay. We were thinking of moving on to another spot when we heard a park ranger on the cliff behind us shout, "Orca!" She gestured to a lagoon just down the track, and we and all the other people there sprinted to our cars. It may have been the lack of sleep, but we both got quite teary as we caught our first glimpse of dorsal fin. We managed to capture a few flashes of black and white on the camera, but they're obviously quite far away, and this lens definitely isn't the best for the job. It was such a special and memorable experience watching these incredible animals, and it really lifted our spirits after what had been quite a tough week for us.